Emigration usually happens for personal reasons or in the search for better living or working conditions. But psychologically, how does a person who leaves his land, his culture, his parents and all his family react to this new reality?
Well, I mean, I think it depends on the circumstances. If your choice is to go to another place, and if you've been given a wonderful job with a good salary and good conditions for your family, then it's a very exciting and nice experience to go to another place. It can be an interesting adventure in life. If you're forced to go out of your country because of war or persecution, and from one day to the next you have to lift up your things and go in secret with the fear of maybe being caught, with maybe being imprisoned or killed, taking nothing with you, leaving your family, often your children, and going to a foreign country, then it can be an extremely traumatic and difficult experience.
Here in Israel, there are already a large number of migrants and refugees. Many of them are Christians looking for help from ecclesiastical institutions.
يوجد ظاهرة جديدة أنه المسيحيين في الأرض المقدسة الذين كانوا في الأصل ذات أغلبية عربية.
A new phenomenon is emerging. Among Christians in the Holy Land, Arabs have always been in the majority, and they still are, but they have been joined by a large number of immigrants from various Asian countries, including India, the Philippines, as well as from Eastern Europe. These are our Christian brothers. They pray like us, they have fellow nationals in religious communities, and they have their priests who guide them. We are proud of them because they are young believers who help us revive our faith. They are a good example for us and for other families because they work with Jewish families in Israel. This is a good example, a great gain for us.
وأيضا للعائلات التي يعملون بينها، هم يعملون في عائلات يهودية في المدن الإسرائيلية. مثالهم الصالح أيضا بالنسبة لنا هو مكسب.
Like in many places in the world today, the Holy Land also has a large number of migrants coming into its territory because some of the people in the Holy Land are wealthy. And what does it mean to be wealthy? It means that, number one, wealthy people do not need to take care of their old people, of their handicapped, of their sick. Instead of taking care of them, they can bring in caregivers from poor countries, people who don't have work and often not enough to eat, who are willing to leave behind their families and come and take care of the families of other people so that they can send money home and in that way support the families that they need to support. And so in the Holy Land today, not only do we have many foreign workers coming to do agricultural work and construction work, but also many Catholics from different parts of Asia and Africa who are coming here to find a place of work. And often, in the course of working, they begin lives in the Holy Land. Some of them have children here who grow up speaking only Hebrew. Others have come to the Holy Land to find refuge, fleeing civil war, fleeing famine, fleeing the violence that they find back home. And so, in addition to the tens of thousands of migrant workers, we also, in the Holy Land, as a church, are finding ourselves in a position where we need to offer refuge and comfort to many refugees who unfortunately do not get the recognition as refugees, but rather stay in the Holy Land for long periods of time as asylum seekers.
Faced with this new mosaic of Christian life in the Holy Land, There is a growing need in the local church to find ways of keeping the faith alive among people who are far from their native land. Let's look at some data on their presence here in Israeli territory. Human rights experts have published some statistics about the immigrant population in Israel. According to figures released by the Ministry of Interior, Israel has given work to 71,352 immigrants since January 2014, brought here by employment agencies. Over 40,500 of them are employed in the care sector, 22,179 in the agricultural sector, and the remaining 5,732 in the construction sector. The immigrant workers with a valid visa constitute only 0.8% of the population in Israel. The highest percentage is represented by those who enter Israel with a tourist visa, but do not leave the country when the time elapses. In fact, in the month of January 2014, 93,000 people arrived in Israel as tourists, about 60% coming from the former Soviet Union. These immigrants account for 1% of the local population. Attracting more attention in the Israeli media, since they represent an increasing demographic threat, are those who come from Africa seeking political asylum and numbering about 48,000 people. The vast majority of these are Eritreans, totaling about 35,000. So let's talk now about these refugees, in what condition they live and how they got here. We have already said that the Eritreans are here in large numbers, but why did they leave their land? Eritrea is a multilingual and multicultural country with a large number of believers belonging to the Orthodox Church. It is a one-party state, even though its constitution, adopted in 1997, states that it is a presidential republic with a parliamentary democracy. According to the government, this inconsistency is due to the conflict with Ethiopia, which began in May 1998. It is a country that imposes military service on its young people, aged 18 years and over, who are only allowed to leave after 15 years of service. So they decide to leave their country in search of better living conditions. To get to the Holy Land, they first have to cross Sudan and then the Sinai Desert in Egypt. On their way, they suffer sexual abuse in the case of women, or they are imprisoned and sometimes even killed.
I grew up I'm Eritrean. I grew up in a small village in Senafe. Then I went to Asmara. I joined the university. I did my first degree in statistics and demography in Eritrea, in Asmara. Then I was drafted to the military. I was doing national service, which is an endless national service, and to some it's a slavery. But I was doing this national service, which is endless. I was also treating my life, you know. University students are like an enemy to the government. So I had to leave the country anyway. So I decided to leave the country in 2006, in October. I left to Ethiopia. So I went to Ethiopia on foot. So it's very risky. It was very challenging and very risky, but I succeeded. 2 months in prison in Ethiopia, and then they returned me back to the refugee camp. So it was not long, because we took us from... It was 1 year since you have been in other countries and come there? Yeah, from Eritrea to Israel, almost 1 year. Even now, I don't know what my future is. So I'm walking in the right direction. You know, tomorrow, the Israeli government can even deport me back to Eritrea. So nothing is known about the future. You know, when you are a refugee, the time you left the country and being a refugee, you never know what your future is. You never know what your future is. You can in every step of your life, you can just get back. So so I don't know my future. Though I'm trying to make my future better. So that's one thing.
Quasi tutti di quelli che abbiamo sono nati qua. Almost all those whom we follow were born here. This little girl you saw, for example, was stabbed when she was in her mother's arms. The mother is so traumatized that she can no longer carry on. The child now has a limp. These women are extremely vulnerable because, before recovering from the trauma they went through while crossing the Sinai, which was a real hell, they get here and do not even find a community that welcomes them, but rather one that rejects them. For this reason, it is twice or 3 times more traumatic for them.
La comunità che li riceve ma che li rigetta, e questo per loro è 2 volte, 3 volte trauma che hanno subito. And so refugees are not treated very well. They're not afforded social rights, no housing rights, not work permits. Many of them do work, but it's work that's not above board. So often they are exploited to, they are faced with exploitation and ill treatment, sometimes not getting paid.
Most of these people live in Tel Aviv, the Israeli city on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. Most people in Israel see it as a large and well-developed commercial center, known for its beautiful seafront, where ancient and modern meet to give the city its unique contour. But the images we see show the opposite: slums and poverty. However, the lives of the poor whom we find here is often better than that which many of them have experienced on their way here. Along with the same kind of suffering, they have moments of joy, they share their bread and food, and never lack the strength to fight.
What really strikes me is that they are people of faith. They always have hope in their eyes, and they share it with each other. And it even touches me. How do they do it? How can this woman, with this handicapped child, still give something to the other woman who is suffering like her? This moves me very deeply. And I thank God for this opportunity to work with them.
Ringrazio Dio che ho opportunità di lavorare con loro.
And so the challenge is an enormous one. And as we begin to take care of these people, taking care of their spiritual needs, so we begin to discover their day-to-day lives, the struggles that they are engaged in order to survive, living on the margins of society, in conditions of great poverty.
Nevertheless, the work is hard and continuous here. The immigrant community in the Holy Land is alive and active. Helped by the local church to stand firm in the faith, they also receive from her the spiritual support and catechesis they need, starting with the youngest children.
And so, about 5 years ago, we were also called to begin catechetical programs for the children who are born here. Children who look like little Filipinos, little Indians, little Africans, but in fact who sound and behave exactly like the children they are growing up with. Secular Jewish Israelis who speak only Hebrew. And so we started an enormous outreach, a catechetical outreach, to try and provide the circumstances in which these children, who hardly ever see a church and know almost nothing about Jesus, could encounter Jesus and begin to desire to form a church.
It's already 5 years since this work began. It first started as a bit of an experiment, very small, with a limited number of children. But gradually we noticed that the demand was increasing and growing. So it became necessary to accept the help and the advice of many more pastoral workers. This type of work has also required us to publish textbooks in Hebrew, as Christianity, not surprisingly, over the many centuries of her existence, never had to produce catechetical texts for children in the Hebrew language. We are dealing with an absolutely new reality.
Erano stati composti testi di catechismo per I bambini in lingua ebraica, perché stiamo parlando di una realtà assolutamente recente.
Faith and works go together in a mission that involves many people, lay and religious, committed to working with strangers, offering their services with full Christian responsibility. Like Claudia, the young Italian woman whom we will meet, what does she do? It's difficult to list everything, and the experience itself cannot be so defined, but the fundamental measure of her work is love.
What you see here is the help that we give to parents. Most of the Catholic children who speak Hebrew are children coming from foreign countries. There are 3 or 4 who have an Israeli passport with Israeli citizenship, but all the others are either from the Philippines or Eritrea, or from Ethiopia or Sri Lanka. In brief, there are few from every part of the world. Usually they are children of a single parent who works several hours a day in order to support the family. So they need a social network because they do not have relatives here. The society does not help much either. Because they are not citizens and are not entitled to the rights of every citizen, so we tried to create a sort of family support for them. The main difficulty is to find someone who can help with homework, because they all have big problems at school, especially the older children. And at home, they do not speak Hebrew, whereas that is the language they speak at school. Here it works like that. Even though the mothers are not entitled, since they do not have a residence permit, Israeli schools thankfully take all children, even those that are irregular. So when they get to the age of kindergarten, they can be inscribed at the local school, and from that time, they have to cope with this change of language. So, although Hebrew is their first language, their standard is very low compared to that of the children of local families. They can therefore be supported in their homework. So that is what we try to do. At the moment, we have 7 volunteers who speak Hebrew and can help them with their homework. More than giving satisfaction, it is beautiful to see that in some way they feel their family is here, either with us or with the church or among themselves. Maybe you've seen before how the older ones care for the younger ones. The idea is that, as a church, we are called to be a family for all people.
It is a place that is open for prayer meetings, Holy Mass, catechesis, for the community and for festive gatherings. It is the center called Our Lady, Woman of Great Value.
Now we have a home, Our Lady, Woman of Valor, Mary, gathers all the migrants under her mantle. And here we have a community that serves the migrants.
Quindi quando abbiamo pensato di dare un nome a questo centro pastorale abbiamo...
So when we decided to give a name to this pastoral center, we immediately thought of Mary as a woman of great value, since the highest percentage of participants, those who come to this center, are working women. And these workers have a life, often a very hard life, working many hours a day to support not only their families in their countries of origin, such as the Philippines, India, and Sri Lanka, but also at the same time to maintain and raise their families here in this land.
Mantenere e portare avanti le loro case qui, in questa terra, lavorando molte ore al giorno.
Hi, Shalom. I'm Father Michael Grospe from the Philippines, from the Diocese of San Jose. And I was invited by the Patriarchate of Jerusalem, specifically Father David, to help for the migrants Filipino here at the Holy Land in Israel. This center is specifically for all the migrants. It was named Our Lady, Woman of Valor, for all the pastoral migrants. The vision of Father David is to really have a place for all the migrants, not just for the Filipinos, but to all the migrants, Filipino, Indian, Sri Lankan, Eritreans, and everyone is welcome here at the center. And this center is specifically a place for all of us to praise and thank the Lord with the masses, with the gatherings and the prayers as scheduled by the different communities here at the center.
I can do whatever I want. Ako ang hari ng pag-iisip ko. Ako ang hari ng damdamin ko. Ako ang hari ng sarili ko. Wala akong pakialam.
And I have my family here, my husband and 2 children. I am the assistant administrator of the center and also helping to fix all what is necessary, things needed to fix in this place to make it nice for the people.
Trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. I'm broken inside, I'll give you my life. I may be weak.
I've been taking care of the Indian Catholics in the Holy Land, especially with regard to their spiritual aspects like masses, weddings, and baptisms, retreats, recollections, confessions. Also, we have major festivals we celebrate, feasts we celebrate. It's very important for them to come together, praise and worship, and it brings them unity. Also, it gives them strength and hope that the church is taking care of them and somebody is there to support them and strengthen them.
Every year, at Christmas, hundreds of Indians make a procession from Jerusalem to Bethlehem. There they celebrate Christmas, bearing witness to their faith with penitential practices in order to beseech God for better days.
So we are husband and wife, so we are trying for children for a long time, about 80 years. So our main prayer is that God can give us the children gifts. So the main intention is so we are praying for God that please give us child.
My name is Vincentina Dias. I'm born in Goa and I have 2 children, and I like to come to Israel, but that time was very hard to come. We have an interview to Israel consulate and they ask different questions, but I miss my family. I have 2 children. I miss them.
Our communities are, the majority are Eritreans, and among them there are also some Ethiopian people. And I am from Ethiopia. As a priest, I do not have any separation or partiality. I am the one who is serving these people together, because the priest has no limitation with one tribe or one nationality. So I have been sent to serve these people.
I came with another sister to the Holy Land, and we came here in 2014, 4th of November. So we came in the intention of working with the Sri Lankan migrants. Sri Lanka is a Buddhist country and we have only 6% of Catholics are in Sri Lanka. So we, in the Holy Land, I think it's about 800 Catholics are here, Sri Lankan Catholics. So we mostly work with the both the groups, not only with the Catholics, with the Buddhist and Catholic both. And also in this center, we are in this center for the migrants. We are working with many communities, especially the community of the Eritrean community, Indians and Filipino, Sri Lankans. So our work is not only for one community. We work with all the communities. They are happy to come to the center and be with us here, as there are sisters, Filipino sisters and Sri Lankan sisters, both are here. We have a gun for the children. It is interesting. This work is with the children and also with their parents.
We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make a brighter day. So let's start giving. And there's a choice we make.
The nursery functions to help families who need a place to leave their children, a help and an education, day by day. Children of different nationalities and cultures coming together and learning the same universal language, the language of love.
We are now more and more faced with the challenge of taking care of the babies, those who are under 3 years old and not yet integrated into the educational structures. What do these babies meet with when they are born and come into the world? Their mothers cannot stay with them, neither can their fathers, and very often there are no fathers. And so we are more and more concerned with the terrible living conditions of these babies, as they are often left in their tens and tens with one woman from the migrant community who unfortunately is not trained, who can rent out a very small space, and so the children are very cramped in. The babies do not move enough, they do not speak enough, they do not interact enough, so that by the time they are 3, they are often badly retarded in their development.
My first 2 days here, it was so terrible. I thought I would give up because it's the first time to take care of the 6 children. And sometimes they started, everybody's crying, everyone's this and this. And then I challenged myself. I told myself that I can do this. It's past days and it's like an adventure. Sometimes it's worse because the children has a different attitudes and behavior. So you have to flexible what they want, what they like, and how to discipline them. Some children, you have to talk to them one by one. One child here, he's not talking at all. But I'm happy because yesterday I heard one word, even just word bye. I heard from him. So I said maybe just be more patience and more give him attention, and they have to give him more attention and speak with him. So I think that he get improved because he is 3 years old already, and his growing is very late. So that's what I saw. Now he started to hug me, to come with me. I said, wow, what happened to this child? So.
A smile that enchants, that makes you smile, that moves the heart, that makes us forget the challenges, at least for a moment. Practicing prevention from an early age is important, especially to avoid marginalization and problems in the future.
There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me.
Today we will meet John, which is not his real name, but fictitious. He is in prison for committing a crime, and he told us his story when we spoke to him on the phone.
I'm sentenced to life. Today I have a date for 32 years. And I'm sentenced for 32 years on charges of murder of my girlfriend in Elat in 2005. And I got into prison on 2005 October. And I was over here in Beersheba. I have no idea that there was any church activities because I was told later that through Sister Emanuela that she used to visit in Beersheba also, but I had no idea. When I came to Ayalon, there were a few group of people from Colombians. They let me know about the church activities that the church comes to visit from Jerusalem, and they asked me if I was interested to go for the visits. Yeah, they're doing a very good job. Especially Father David Newhouse. He has been taking a lot of initiatives in the prisoners. He's been he's doing, especially my wedding. I won't lie, it's like my wedding was like on top priority when I was supposed to get married. He took a lot of things in his own hands and he dealt with it. Almost all the people used to come to visit us. There were a lot of people who have also left us, basically priests. Listen, we people over here, no matter we foreigners and we are inside the prison, listen, we have done something that we did a crime. We are not saying so something, we did a crime. Life in prison is not so good. We try to make it good. It's not so good, but we have to understand one thing. We are paying for the price that we have committed the crime. We have paying for that, for the same intention. So I really don't know exactly, like, I really don't know what to tell you about it. It's very difficult for me. It's doing my part.
There is a different reality present today in Israel, which concerns the Sudanese and Eritrean refugees who live in a kind of prison or detention center opened at Cholot in the Negev desert. This detention center was opened after legislation was passed in December 2013, allowing the authorities to transfer the Sudanese and Eritrean asylum seekers. These days, about 2,300 people, all men, are kept at this huge facility. They are allowed to go out during the day, but the center is located right in the middle of the Negev desert, far from the nearest town. Not having the money to pay for the means of transport makes it difficult for them to leave this place. It is a harsh reality that is unknown to many. On their visit to the site, Father David and Sister Azezet encountered a tough situation. And what was requested from them? Books. So a campaign was launched and books were donated to them as a way to have some contact with the outside world and escape temporarily from the harsh reality in which they find themselves. Charity in truth, witnessed by Jesus Christ in his earthly life and above all by his death and resurrection, is the principal driving force behind the authentic development of every person and all humanity. Love, Caritas, is an extraordinary force which leads people to engage with courage and generosity in the field of justice and peace. It is a force that has its origin in God, eternal love, and absolute truth. That was opened, and yes, you could say a project that has already grown to a great size since its birth, is to insert the community of immigrants into the reality of the local church. It is large not only because of the large number of Christian immigrants, but also because of the many challenges it presents, including the awareness and analysis of the challenges themselves, which are very diverse, comparing them and sharing them, in order, as far as possible, to identify concrete solutions.
And so, for some time, there have been discussions on how we can put together these two parts, the local communities and the communities made out of foreigners who are here for a wide variety of reasons, be it work, or service, or as immigrants. Let's say all those who are here in the Holy Land.
Come parroco di Gerusalemme, a Gerusalemme consiste molti stranieri.
Jerusalem is a city that welcomes many foreigners, and I, as a parish priest in Jerusalem, have started working with them. The diocese says the parish in every town or city should be a parish for all those who live there, and as there are many foreigners here in the Holy Land, I have started to work in a very practical way with Father David and the chaplain priests.
Padre Davide con tutti gli altri cappellani e per cui ho suggerito come primo punto quello che abbiamo fatto il 18.
As a first step, it was suggested that in the context of the parish mass we hold a mass with the immigrant community in Jerusalem, and we did this here on January 18th.
La messa parrocchiale. Perché è importante, come ho detto, non è sufficiente un incontro all'anno.
One meeting per year is important, though not sufficient, I think. We need to hold more meetings, taking advantage of the celebration of local feasts, so that little by little we become aware of the reality and avoid any expression that differs from this reality. As a community, we are believers on a mission here on earth, for our Lord Jesus Christ.
Siamo credenti in una missione, il nostro Signore Gesù Cristo in questa terra.
This is only one of the many challenges that this little group of priests and religious are having to face. Father David Neuhaus told us that coordination is still lacking on various fronts, and we must work a lot on this. He points out the lack of coordination between the different communities of Catholic immigrants, between these communities and the civil society in which they live, and also with their country of origin. Church Without Borders, Mother of All, was the theme chosen by Pope Francis for the 101st World Day for Migrants and Refugees. In his message, the Holy Father says, "The Church extends her arms to welcome all people without distinction and without borders, and to announce to all that God is love." Throughout the world, the Church Without Borders, the Mother of All, spreads the culture of acceptance and solidarity, according to which no one should be considered useless, displaced, or disposable. If she actually practices her motherhood, the Christian community nourishes, directs, and shows the way, accompanying with patience and coming close in prayer and works of mercy.
I thank the people who are for peace, for justice, and for the people. They are very committed to helping these people. There are many organizations that help, offering to help them like this one we're seeing here.
In the area of the church, we are very happy. The church, Catholic Church, according to the word, Catholic, universal, wherever, to welcome the people and to give the service. So here, we are not obliged to rent the hotel, the halls, to get this service. But we got the churches opened, and the priests and sisters of the Catholic Church, they welcomed us, and we got, without any difficulty, the service in our churches.
Anyway, this is the field that the Lord has put before us now, and this is the reality in which we commit ourselves to work every day, while also keeping them present in our prayers.
We ask that you pray for us, that you support us, that you come and visit us. And please keep in mind that the Church in the Holy Land is a poor church facing many challenges, but now the new challenge of opening up and welcoming the migrant, the asylum seeker, those who need her most.
Dear migrants and refugees, you have a special place in the heart of the Church, whose generosity you help to enlarge, enabling her to extend her motherhood over the whole human family. Do not lose your confidence and your hope. We think of the Holy Family exiled in Egypt. Just as the belief that God never abandons anyone is conserved in the maternal heart of the Virgin Mary and in the caring heart of Saint Joseph, so may you never lack the very same trust in the Lord. I entrust you to their protection, and to all I cordially impart my apostolic blessing.
Trust what you say. that you're good and you're